Fold gives you the ability to use Bitcoin as money. It gives you the ability to be backwards compatible with the legacy system and forwards compatible to the future system.
Yo, and welcome back to another episode of the Nyc and Griff Show. Today, it is not going to be the Nyc and Griff Show, it's going to be the Griff Show, and he is joined by a guest. Have you guys ever heard of the Fold app? Because Griff has been using it religiously for a long time now, and he is joined by Brian Harrington for a conversation about what Fold is doing, and it's a pretty dang good one. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. Hope you guys enjoy.
Probably like a good place to start. So Fold started, it was a CoinKite, you said? Or what? Where did it start?
Yeah, so Fold started as a company called Coin for Card, and it started, Fold has been the leader in integrating Bitcoin into your personal finances through the gift card era, and then through the debit card era, and everyone knows it as the leading Bitcoin rewards debit card. And now Fold is pushing into, I call it the account and routing number era. The account and routing number has always been there. It's always been there. But we've refreshed the homepage and we talk about it a lot more. And so, yeah, Fold's been the leader in just helping people integrate Bitcoin into their personal finances. So it doesn't feel so much like a bolt-on thing where it's like you have your regular personal finances and it's like, oh, but you do Bitcoin over here. It's integrated. You have one cohesive experience.
No, I've always liked using Fold. So it became Fold, technically, what year did they rebrand and they became?
2019. Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, I don't want to say I've been using it since 2019, but as soon as I heard that there was a debit card where I could get sats for my rent, I was like, let's do that. That sounds great. I was like, because the whole credit card thing, I actually read some of your comments. I think some of the biggest trade-offs in general is just how you look at your personal finance, right? I mean, I don't know if at Fold you guys are more of the Dave Ramsey type of Bitcoiner or if you're more of the trader kind of guy, but I'm more of a saver. I view Bitcoin as a savings. So I guess, do you kind of view it that way as well? And that's kind of what Fold is engineered to do. It's kind of to help your savings of Bitcoin.
So what I like about that framing that you just have is Fold serves both. And that's a big thing that we've been working on is serving the people that prefer, like even taking Bitcoin out of it for a second, there's people that just prefer debit cards. And then there's people that just prefer credit cards. And both those people, and then there's a few in the middle that are, down for whatever, but personal finance is extremely personal, and Fold has the giant ability to serve both of those crowds. And I can kind of talk about how they serve both of those crowds, but Fold doesn't pick or choose, which one of those you have to be to get the most out of Fold. It truly is there to help any sort of Bitcoiner, debit card or credit card user to get more out of their Bitcoin and incorporate it more into their personal finances.
Yeah, for those that don't know, I mean, like you've kind of been on this rabbit hole of ACH payments and just like getting everything onto Bitcoin, even just using the traditional system as best we can to use Bitcoin with it. What took you so long to join up with Fold, or like how did that kind of happen? Because I kind of feel like that's a big acquisition. I feel like you're great for that team.
Yeah, no, extremely, extremely thankful on a personal level to be at Fold. So when I was working at Choice on Bitcoin and retirement accounts, we were one of the first. We did actually a big wheel integration with Fold on almost my first or second month at Choice, and so I've known the product marketing team at Fold for a long time. Did meetups with the Fold crew off and on over the years, and no, it just came from a conversation and networking over the years.
Yeah, and I assume that you felt like your talents were best fit for what they're doing. And it seems like, I mean, every time I get on there, every update, people can get upset about whether it's the spins or how much you're getting back or whatever. I'm a little different. I will say I'm completely biased. I'm just if I could, I think Fold, are you guys publicly traded now as well? I believe.
We're in the middle of that. So yeah, the acquisition was announced. If people are interested in that, the number one place to learn the most about it is foldapp.com/investors. That has all of the public information, up-to-date information that people can review about that.
Well, just to get right to it, what do you think is the most important thing for Fold's future? Where do you guys want to go with it? Your guys' experience is so easy to use. I go everywhere with it. I've actually used your card so much I've destroyed it. And now I probably need to go get another one. You guys are awesome. And your customer service is actually really good too. It's not traditional, but it's fantastic. Where do you guys see it going?
Yeah. Fold is the most convenient place to incorporate Bitcoin deeper into your personal finances. And so where it's going is even more financial services, and even making it more and more easy to run Bitcoin, run any amount of dollars and Bitcoin inside your personal finances. A little bit on kind of the other exchanges. So like, can you acquire Bitcoin at another exchange? Sure. Like, absolutely, you can. However, for a long time, for multiple years now, the main Bitcoin personal finance flow has been you have a Wells Fargo account, a Bank of America account, a local credit union account, et cetera, right? And you mentioned how I've been on this ACH network kick for a lot of years now. And the reason is because of this, because the number one way that the majority of people, I have a giant passion for just regular Americans, like a regular W-2 job. You could be self-employed or freelance or whatever, but like a regular job American, okay?
Yep.
That person direct deposits their paycheck via an account and routing number to, again, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, their local credit union, etc. And then they pay their bills via an account and routing number over here, over here, over here. And then their surplus money, an orange-pilled Bitcoiner, their surplus money goes to the exchange where they acquire Bitcoin. That's been how it has been for years now. However, like Fold is reimagining and reinventing that entire thing to where you don't have to, you no longer have to use the legacy checking account. You can bring your paycheck direct to Fold and have the ability to pay bills via the account routing number, pay bills or get cash from an ATM, or make regular day-to-day expenses via the debit card and acquire Bitcoin. And then you have the ability to take Bitcoin, move it back to USD, and then do both of those things as well. And so the most streamlined place to have Bitcoin not be a bolt onto your personal finances, but a very integral part of your personal finances, like, is at Fold.
I guess I'm going to get a pretty funny answer from you. What's the point of having like a regular checking account or a savings account anymore? I mean, seriously, like, what's the point? Inflation's so high. You have to compete with the market. I understand. I'm with you. I want Bitcoin to be more for the regular person. It's very hard for people to save. And so I could imagine that, you know, you're on Wells Fargo. No, you're not going to get any Bitcoin, but shoot, you're not going to invest any money. So like, what's the point of a regular? What is Fold's view on regular checking accounts? Like, what is your guys' view on that? Do you guys just like they're kind of obsolete at this point?
That's my personal opinion. Like, that's my personal opinion that it's getting closer and closer and closer to where you no longer need that outside account. Look, and I'll play the other side, and I like people in kind of set realistic expectations. Does the Fold account currently have paper check writing? No. Like, as of this exact moment, does it have that? No. As of this exact moment, does it have the take a picture and make a check deposit? No. Like, are both of those really good ideas and something that we're interested in because the end game is, again, to make it more and more and more people can leave that legacy account? Definitely. And I'm motivated by both parts. I'm motivated by, at a personal level, I'm motivated by the financial aspect that you talked about of, like, in my opinion, holding dollars for as least amount as possible makes the most financial sense. And then on a philosophical standpoint, when I started talking about Bitcoin on the internet, like the reason why I started watching Bitcoin content on the internet and the reason why I started talking about Bitcoin on the internet was because I think Bitcoin replacing fiat money is a positive for society. And I don't want that to happen at a vague point in the future. I want that to happen now. And the tools are available for it to happen now and next year and the year after that. And so it feels like a very practical thing that you can do if you've been stacking for a long time, is continue to kind of incorporate Bitcoin even more and more and more into your personal finances.
What are some of the biggest challenges trying to deal with some of these financial entities, though? Because do they view you guys as kind of like a rebel, or are you guys treated pretty well? Like, just how's that going with some of the traditional finance?
Yeah, great question. So it's going fine. Like, it's going great. Like, Fold is an established fintech. And that's kind of the thing. Even taking Bitcoin out of it for a second, fintechs, I'm rooting for fintechs, and every single day I'm pushing professionally for fintechs to be able to serve people more and more and more. And so no, like Fold, we have really great partners that allow us to do that. And it's a really great relationship.
Now, I'm not sure if you're on this side of things. Is Fold like incorporating like a MicroStrategy type Bitcoin deal? Like, cause like sometimes I use it, and it's like a lot of the times I deal with like the traditional finance world. Just actually after doing this podcast and learning so much from a lot of guests like you, there are so many games to play, right? And sometimes you play the game so well, you're like, am I like stealing from Walmart's self-checkout right now? Like what, like what's going on, I guess a little bit. How do you guys manage like the price fluctuation of Bitcoin? Do you just keep a bunch of it in reserve just to make sure? Are you guys like I mean, if you guys become publicly traded, are you looking to do something like MicroStrategy, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so a few things. Look, when you stack, Fold stacks. Like that's been incorporated in the DNA of the company forever. As far as the specific kind of treasury stuff, our CEO Will Reeves has done a decent amount of podcasts recently, and so definitely get the kind of most up to date on that from his recordings over there.
No, that's cool. It would make a lot of sense, obviously. But if you guys are also becoming, I use you guys very much so as like a hot wallet exchange, much like I like Strike a lot too. I like Jack Mallers, and I like what you guys are doing. You guys are my two favorite Bitcoin companies. I like Jack Dorsey, but I don't really know how to use Nostr. I want to use it. I would like to put it out there. I think we'd all like to use it, but I don't know how to use it. It's very confusing. I'm very confused. Bitcoin was already confusing, and then Nostr confused me a little bit more. But what you guys are doing is super cool, and it's very advanced. It's interesting to hear that like people, it's kind of like established. It's is Bitcoin kind of forgone at this point? Because you've been in the space longer than me. Like, does it just feel like Bitcoin is, like it's here? Like it is going to get adopted. It is going to become mainstream. There are going to be hurdles, but it's here, right? Like,
yeah. So I definitely agree with that. Like, Bitcoin is mainstream. I don't go all the way to the end of saying like, oh, kind of we as Bitcoiners can just be passive and it's off to the races and like we don't have to do anything. Like, I don't super love that, because I think that comes with a lot of apathy. But I also think believing that, Bitcoin won't be mainstream until, X date far in the future is also kind of like, that also kind of has like this undertone of apathy as well. And so I do think Bitcoin is mainstream right now in terms of everyone has heard about it once and has an opinion about it. They've heard about it once, 2, 3 times, and they already have their opinion about it. Maybe they dipped their toe in and had a positive or a negative experience. And so we're on that second, third wave of people hearing about it and trying to figure out, how they're going to incorporate it in their life.
My favorite people to talk to personally, because now I've been in it for a full cycle, which means I've reaped some of the financial rewards of being in Bitcoin for a little bit longer than most people, because I actually believe in it. The number one thing that you hear from people, I think, that have heard about it once, which I think is such a great point, is I knew it was going to go up. I had some and then I sold it. And I'm like, yeah, like you do get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. That tagline like will forever be there. How's the adoption going at Fold? Are you guys seeing just a lot? I mean, like a lot of, are you guys seeing users come in by the day? Because not everybody uses my referral link, but I hope like everyone, I've told every one of my friends, it's just like silly. Like if you want to stack Bitcoin, there is a place for Fold in your life somewhere there. I mean, there's just a place for it. So are you guys seeing that one on the user side of things is just going like way up for the most part?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, graphs, we just had our growth meeting literally last Friday. The graphs are up and to the right. And as Griff talked about, like use the link right here, like use.foldapp.com right here, Nyc and Griff, and you can get a 20,000 sats bonus when you make your first purchase. So it really is a no-brainer, and it can serve everyone from a early Bitcoiner to an established Bitcoiner that's been doing it for a while. Because that early Bitcoiner, what I like about it is that it frames Bitcoin alongside USD from the very beginning. And so you can set up your just regular DCA from the beginning, and your regular just drip direct deposit, portion of your direct deposit from wherever you have it. And also all the way up to that Bitcoiner that has been in a long time and they're looking for ways to kind of squeeze more and more out of Bitcoin. Then you can really start to lean into, how much of your personal finances are Bitcoin based.
Yeah. Please use the link too, because I don't have that many people who have used it and I don't want them to think I'm fake. I mean, I literally always tell people to use it, and it's just like crazy that I don't have more like free sats, but it's fine. Nobody likes to click the links. It is what it is. Another thing to talk about though, like the more you get referral links and you start onboarding onto Fold and you become a Bitcoiner, good question to ask you, because I have a lot of conversations with Nyc about this. How are you doing at parties with people? Is it boring? Is that boring for you as it is for me? Or do you have more Bitcoin friends that you hang out with? Like, how do you manage the social aspect of basically Bitcoin taking over your life?
What immediately popped into my brain is I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And so I'm kind of in I'm feeling that new phase of my life as far as that goes. So I did meetups for a long time, and I talked about these on the shows when I've been on with you guys before. I did meetups for a long time over in Orange County in Anaheim. We were meeting every single Thursday, and so a lot of my social crowd in Southern California is Bitcoiners. But then when we do go out with kind of other couples and things like that, I talk to them about it every time. It never misses. But now these days I'm working on my like how to make friends with other toddler parents. And I'm in my early innings of that.
Are you already feeling like public school, private school, homeschool? Like, because as a Bitcoiner, it really does change everything, because you're just like, at least you start entertaining a lot more conversations. And so you have a 3-year-old and you're sitting there, you're like, all right, like, do I send them to school, or do I just like tell them to get on YouTube and like watch a bunch of these like really awesome videos? They're probably going to learn more. I could probably take some advice and go to some more Bitcoin meetups and probably meet a few more people there.
And that'll get your link clicked. That'll get the Fold link clicked. Ben's starting to make posters for different meetups too. I'll have to dive into that. I know Sacramento definitely has a crowd. It's just a really interesting topic of conversation, because nowadays, everything's so polarized. We can't talk about anything on this podcast without it being polarized. And that's the same thing that happens in your day-to-day, whether you're hanging out with couples or you've had friends go one way or the other, COVID, whatever. I mean, like, I've had people go all kinds of ways, and I've always been the person, I'm just like, people hate me for different reasons, because I'm speaking from a Bitcoin ethos where I'm just like, I don't really know if that debate last night's going to fix any problems. And I don't know if really Fold cares or if you care, but do you guys, I mean, one way or the other, you guys are going to kind of keep going. Does Bitcoin, because I kind of heard you say it, Dennis Porter's out there, there's people that are pushing some of the policy of it. And I'm kind of both ways on it. Bitcoin needs that. Bitcoin doesn't need that. Both ways. Like, where are you on that? Like, we need to dive more into some of it and compete in that space, or we kind of just need to let Bitcoin be what it is, let it do its thing. And somehow, some way, I don't really agree with those Bitcoiners. Somehow, some way, Bitcoin is just going to do its thing, and it's going to be there forever, and it's going to be worth $1 million and whatever. Like, what do you kind of think you're going forward? So on that spectrum, I'm definitely more on the side of, I think, being involved in kind of the community and the influence of the world matters. Does advocacy and does networking and does having a personal brand and being involved with like how the way the community works, again, whether it's at a super micro local level or at a federal level or at a world level, I do think that matters, and I do think it's inescapable. And so I think everyone can be doing that on their own.
It's an interesting thing because Bitcoin is global. And I was talking about it on a podcast I was just recording by myself. Bitcoin is a very American innovation. I mean, if you're a constitutionalist, it's just interesting when you talk to Bitcoiners, because you got the far right. I would argue that Dennis Porter's on the left. And then I would want to say most Bitcoiners really are real independents. Like, they're just like, these guys are all going to print money, so we got to like watch out no matter who we vote for, kind of thing. But it's so interesting now because government is so big in so many places. Bitcoin has to compete because it's already gotten to that level where would you say we're at? Are they fighting us? Because we kind of said we won. I kind of still think they're fighting us. I don't know.
Sure. More and more recently, I've been kind of just connecting with a lot of non-Bitcoin analogies. When you think about just tech in general, it kind of always is met with some resistance. Like, change is hard. Change is hard, and change is met with resistance. And I almost think that more of the conversation around Bitcoin is more just kind of that classic discussion rather than anything specifically about Bitcoin is one thing I think about. And then another thing I think about is how to hold that Bitcoin is mainstream and is winning in one hand, and that there is still kind of like pushing back on it in another hand. Like, how do you hold both of those true things at the same time? The way I hold both of those true things at the same time is that Bitcoin, there's nothing else in history has given an individual the ability to take the anti-status quo position and be paid by that position, like at a level that helps everyone. Like, if you are taking the anti-status quo position by enjoying having Bitcoin as your main money instead of fiat as your main money, that hugely helps you as an individual and hugely helps you as society. There's no other thing that gigantically helps both those buckets at the same time. Every other time in history where you've had to either make money off of a changing of a technology, or you've been kind of in the dissenting voice of something that's not positive happening in the world, you're either making an outsized advantage versus other people, or in the dissenting voice category, most oftentimes you're making a financial sacrifice by taking that position. Bitcoin like allows you to take the dissenting position, which is that Bitcoin is better than fiat money. The current way we do the world reserve currency is not positive for society. That's the position that you're taking. And that's helpful for society and helpful for you as an individual. And there's no max cap on how many people can take that position. In fact, it's the opposite. The more people that take that position, increases the reinforcing, mechanisms. So why is that relevant to your question? The reason why that's relevant to your question is because you can't that's why I can't fully identify with the if we don't engage in politics, we're going to lose stuff.
True.
But it's also why I think, engaging in politics actually can make it move faster because the cards that we're holding are so good. So why not?
Yeah, I agree. I was listening to Joe Rogan and Brett Weinstein talk, and I thought it was so interesting when Weinstein was kind of basically going over how society has lost track of what are complex problems and what are complicated problems. And to me, world history and a lot of the main players and the people that would be fighting Bitcoin, that's a very complicated problem just because straight out of the book, if you just go in history, we burned down libraries. We've had world wars. We've had information exchange through centralized entities that we don't really know what the truth is more or less anymore. And if you do think you know what the truth is, please come on my show because I'm looking for people who think they know what it is because I have no clue. I mean, I just would continue to say you're just always learning is really more than anything. But that's a complicated problem. It's something that we just don't know the outputs. We don't know what the future is going to be. We don't really know what history is. Some of these things are so complicated, we don't know the answers. Here's the difference. A complex problem, we kind of know the ins and the outs, or at least somebody knows the ins and the outs. And the internet is a complex problem. There are lots of people who know it. There's lots of people who don't, but that doesn't make it complicated. That doesn't mean there's people who don't understand it. So I extrapolate that to economics. We know that a hard money creates a better society for the middle class. That's not a question. And in America, we largely had a hard money, even when it was a gold-backed money. They had a really tough time dealing with it because it was the parent in the room, if you would. And so now we've lost the parent in the room. We see where this experiment has gone. Okay. And I would say Bitcoin might be an extreme test against the system. And so I agree with you. It's really hard to know throughout world history how many of these guys are still trying to fight Bitcoin. Or I would even say, to carry it over to the next part of the conversation, there's a lot of Bitcoin treasury talk. There's a lot of Bitcoin back to this talk. There's a lot of leveraging. There's a lot of collateral. Bitcoin's collateral. And as a Bitcoiner, having studied it enough, it kind of hurts me and I love it at the same time because I'm I want to get rich and wealthy too. Why not?
Yep.
I think I can do a lot better for the world than the current players are. So sure, use it as a treasury asset. It'll be great for that. But then there's the other side of me that I'm I don't know if that's going to create the biggest middle class in the world. I'm not sure if that's going to create the economy that I want. Are you in favor of what some of these guys are saying as using Bitcoin as kind of a strategic reserve asset, backing it? I guess it's more of me question. Do you like Tether or do you not like Tether?
Yeah. So to the first part of Bitcoin as a treasury asset, yeah, I think I definitely think that trend is happening and growing and there's no reversing it. And I don't think that is a trend that's negative to individual Bitcoin holders. I actually think it's super positive for Bitcoin holders. And then to the concept of Bitcoin backing a fiat money, and I don't know if this is how everyone sees it, but I view stable coins as the same as fiat effectively. I think there's some technical improvements that allow it to move 24/7, 365 from addresses and all that stuff. And so yeah, is that better and cool? Totally. Does that take away from my desire to see Bitcoin as the world currency instead of dollars? Not really. I think a lot of stablecoin enjoyers or people that kind of see stablecoins. Well, and here's the thing. So Nick Carter has done a really good job of this, of being stablecoins are dominant. Stablecoins are dominant. Really just that's a stat. That's a stat, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I've tried to take that. I've tried to take that as that is a stat. I'm not arguing with that stat and that fact that a lot of people use them and they are very big. That's true. And maybe this is elementary and naive of me or whatever, but I really can't get that scene from Star Wars out of my head where he's negotiating for the pod racer and the guy just goes, sorry, the like Republic credits aren't good out here.
Right.
Like, I'm kind of just like, dude, the Republic credits aren't good. Even if they're on even if they're on a blockchain, the Republic credits aren't good. Like the way that what a dollar is decided is not that great. Like, that's just not that great. So, like, is credit a thing and will it continue to be a thing? Totally. Like, is lending a thing and will it continue to be a thing? Totally. Is it kind of hard to use Bitcoin, I'll say, as money? Maybe, but the window for you to be able to say that is like closing pretty fast. Again, because like Fold gives you the ability to use Bitcoin as money. It gives you the ability to be backwards compatible with the legacy system and forwards compatible to the future system. And then, like, look, every single Thursday, I go to Grey Wolf Brewing, Norco, California. Grey Wolf Brewing takes Bitcoin. So every single week, I'm exercising the muscles of Bitcoin as my main money, whether it's interacting with the legacy system or interacting with a merchant that is leaning into the new system. So I like, and maybe this is, again, just personal bias, but like, I don't have a need for stablecoins. I have a need for dollars on the regular legacy ACH network. And I have a need for Bitcoin in local commerce that's replacing dollars. Those are the two things that are like most interesting to me. And so if there's a jump from ACH network to stablecoin rails at some point, sweet. I'm in the boat that what that does is accelerate the adoption of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because I think every Bitcoiner's had the conversation with a newbie and you've had that LN at the beginning of the address and then you haven't had it and you're like, all right, let me explain this to you real quick. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to explain this to you without totally throwing you off because it feels like two separate educations. So the stablecoin thing to me, as a Bitcoiner, I agree with you. It's like, will it grow the adoption? Yes. Will it ultimately probably grow the price? Probably yes. Are some of these companies going to be effective? I would imagine so. But Bitcoin is harsh. So if they ever get margin called or leveraged or something like that happens, I always think that's a huge risk to whatever stablecoin that might be, as opposed to just the dollar thing is a stable coin effectively. And there is no risk of me paying for it with Fold. You know, I'm going to pay my bills and then I'm going to get Bitcoin. I just view that as the easiest way to do it. The Jack Mahlers of the world, you know, I just don't think it's realistic when you say you have no money in your bank account and you're like, I own my company, I own my house, and I own Bitcoin. And I'm like, God bless you. I don't know how much money you have, but for the W-2 guy, I'm more just like, you can do all these things we're talking about. You can do them through Fold. I mean, you can already do them. I'm doing them. I do it every month. And I've gotten, I think, over 4 million sats back already on Fold. And I'm just like, great.
That's awesome.
It's a huge contribution to my stack. I mean, it's not the majority of my stack, but I also now buy it on Fold. And you can, I'm pretty sure the fees as low on Fold as they are pretty much anywhere else. I don't pay as close attention as I should because at the end of the day, I'm just DCAing. I'm like, whatever. But you guys do a really good job with that, I assume.
Yeah, so it's Bitcoin price tool or BTC price tool compares a lot of the major ones, and Fold is at the lowest.
See, I'm already winning, but no, the future is complicated with Bitcoin. But for the right now, we know it's a good money. We probably know it's going to appreciate. For anybody listening, you can get Brian on Twitter. Anywhere else that they can find you? I don't want to.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, search Brian Harrington on YouTube and search Fold app on YouTube.
Very cool. Yeah, and he will reply. He will reply. I see him on Twitter all the time. He will reply, and there are very few people in the world who I would say I'm very passionate about Bitcoin, but I don't work in Bitcoin. And Brian is passionate about Bitcoin, and he works in Bitcoin. And in my opinion, that makes him a better Bitcoiner than me. So if you're going to listen to somebody, tap into his Twitter, his YouTube, and the whole thing, and get on Fold. All right, everybody needs to get on Fold. It's free. You got to spend. I mean, there's gift cards on Fold. If you got some gift cards you like to get, you can get 9% back. Every time I get an oil change at Jiffy Lube, I'm getting 10% back. And they're always a little bit confused by the process, but don't worry, they take it. And then my oil gets changed and I get a whole bunch of Bitcoin back. So I fully promote it. We're not taking, trust me, we're not taking any ad money or anything for this damn podcast. Fold is fantastic. It's just a great way to get Bitcoin. And I'm so happy to have you on. The last time he was on, he wasn't with Fold. And this is a natural progression to here. And I'm just happy for you, man. I hope Bitcoin gets adopted in whatever way, because no matter what percentage of global wealth it takes up, I kind of believe it's going to help. And I kind of think you're right there with me. So if you have anything else.
That's it. No, thanks everyone. Definitely sign up for Fold. Use the Nyc and Griff link, and thanks so much.
Very cool. Happy to have you on. We'll talk soon. Peace.
Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I thought Griff crushed it. Brian had so many great things to say. If you guys aren't watching, we do have video on Spotify and YouTube. And hey, we want to talk to folks. We want to have real conversations. We like to do that on Twitter. You can find all of our links at nycandgriffshow.com. It's all spelled out NYCANDGRIFFSHOW. See you next time. Peace.